All right, everyone, get ready for this. We're diving deep into the world of software testing today. Specifically, we're going to tackle black box and white box testing.
Two very important approaches that ensure your favorite apps run smoothly, right?
You got it. We'll be using the sources you provided.
Hopefully we can skip past most of the technical jargon.
Yeah, we want to make this fun and surprisingly interesting.
That shouldn't be hard. This stuff is really cool once you get into it.
It really is. Think about it. Every time you tap an app on your phone,
You just expect it to work, right? No crashes, no weird glitches.
exactly. But behind the scenes, a ton of testing goes into making that happen.
Essentially, it's all about making sure that the software does what it's supposed to.
And meets quality standards, of course. No security breaches, just smooth sailing.
Right, and that's where black box and white box testing come in.
Like two sides of the same coin, each with a different perspective.
Yeah, they each play a crucial role in ensuring software quality.
Okay, so let's start with black box testing. I'm picturing a literal black box.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Like we can interact with it, put stuff in, get results out.
But we have no idea what's happening inside.
Exactly. No peeking at the code.
And that's the point of black box testing. You evaluate the software purely from the user's perspective.
So it doesn't matter how the code is written.
It's all about whether the software behaves as expected.
Whether it does what it's supposed to do.
Focusing on functionality and usability, like if we were testing the login process for, say, a banking app.
Oh, good example. So we try logging in with different usernames and passwords.
Yep. And we check if the app responds correctly. Does it give you a welcome message if the credentials are right?
And what about if they're wrong? An error message, hopefully.
Exactly. Does the app lock you out after too many attempts? These are all things we would test.
Without ever looking at the actual code itself.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of black box testing. It can uncover usability issues that even the developers might miss.
Because they're so focused on the code.
They might overlook how a real user would actually interact with the app.
Right, they're too close to it to see the potential problems.
One of your sources, a case study about a financial app, actually illustrates this perfectly.
Oh yeah, the one where black box testing revealed problems with how it categorized transactions.
Yes. And it had trouble generating reports. Imagine that.
Ouch, that could be a nightmare for users. They think they're diligently tracking their spending.
And then the app is messing up the categories or giving them inaccurate reports.
That could lead to some serious financial headaches.
Exactly. But thankfully, because of black box testing, they caught those issues before releasing the app.
Saving users a lot of potential frustration and stress. It really highlights how important it is to simulate real-world usage during testing.
Absolutely. You can't just assume the app will work perfectly in the hands of real users. You have to put it through its paces.
This makes me think about all those times I've encountered a bug in an app and thought, how did they miss this?
It's possible they didn't do thorough enough black box testing.
Or maybe they just didn't anticipate how users would actually use the app.
It's hard to predict every possible scenario, but that's why testing is so crucial.
So how do testers even approach black box testing? Do they just randomly try things?
Not at all. There are specific techniques that make the process systematic and efficient.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, one technique is called equivalence partitioning. Imagine testing a field that accepts ages between 18 and 100.
Okay, so you could try every single number between 18 and 100?
You could, but that would be incredibly time-consuming.
And probably not very efficient.
Right. Instead, you divide the range into logical groups, say, under 18, 18 to 65, and over 65.
Okay, I see.
And then you test a representative value from each group.
So you're strategically choosing inputs to cover a wide range of scenarios.
Without having to test every single possibility.
That makes a lot of sense. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Another technique is called boundary value analysis.
Boundary value analysis, what's that?
It focuses on the edges of acceptable input ranges because errors often pop up at those boundaries.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about that age field again. You'd want to test 18, 100, and then values just outside those limits.
Like 17 and 101.
Exactly. You want to make sure the app handles those edge cases correctly.
So it's like you're deliberately trying to break the software by pushing it to its limits.
In a way, yes. It's about ensuring the software is robust and can handle unexpected input.
It makes me wonder if software testers have a bit of a mischievous streak.
Maybe. But ultimately, they're just trying to make sure the software is as reliable as possible.
Okay, so black box testing is all about the external behavior of the software, how it interacts with the user.
But what about looking inside the box itself? peeking at the code and seeing how it all works.
That's where white box testing comes in,
Yeah,
right?
you got it. Now we shift gears from what the software does to how it does it.
So instead of just looking at the inputs and outputs,
We actually examine the code itself.
like opening up the hood of a car and seeing all the moving parts.
Exactly. White box testing requires a deeper understanding of the code.
So it's usually done by developers or highly technical QA specialists.
People who can read and understand code and know how to look for potential problems.
So it's like being a detective, going under the hood and examining the intricate workings of the software.
It definitely has that element of investigation. And one area where white box testing really shines is security.
Ah, because you can see exactly how the code handles sensitive data, like passwords or credit card information.
Precisely. Let's go back to our banking app login example. With white box testing, we're not just trying different login credentials.
We're analyzing how the code stores and processes those credentials.
Exactly. We're looking for vulnerabilities. Are passwords being hacked securely? Are there any loopholes that hackers could exploit?
It's like looking for weak spots in the armor, right?
Exactly. White box testing helps us find and fix those vulnerabilities before they can be exploited.
Which is absolutely crucial in today's world where data breaches are becoming more and more common.
It's a constant battle to stay ahead of the bad guys, and white box testing is a vital weapon in that fight.
I'm starting to see how these two testing approaches really complement each other.
They each have their strengths and weaknesses, but together they form a powerful combination.
Black box for the user experience and white box for the code itself.
A dynamic duo of software quality assurance. And speaking of quality, one of your sources mentioned a fascinating case study about an e-commerce platform that used white box testing to optimize its performance.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that one.
So this platform was having issues with slow loading times, especially during checkout.
Oof, that's a big problem for an e-commerce site.
Right. Every second counts when people are trying to buy things online.
So they decided to use white box testing to pinpoint the bottlenecks in their code.
Yeah, they focused on complex areas like the checkout process, which involved a lot of different variables and decision branches.
That makes sense. Checkout is a critical part of the user experience.
Absolutely. So they meticulously analyzed their code and discovered a redundant loop in the checkout process.
A redundant loop? What's that?
It's basically a section of code that was being executed unnecessarily, like a little detour that was slowing things down.
Uh-huh. So by removing this redundant loop,
They were able to achieve a 15% improvement in checkout speed.
15%. That might not sound like a lot, but in the fast-paced world of e-commerce, it can make a huge difference.
It can mean the difference between a customer completing their purchase and abandoning their cart.
It's amazing how such a seemingly small technical detail can have such a big impact.
It's like fine-tuning a high-performance engine. Every little adjustment can lead to significant gains.
And it highlights the importance of white box testing and uncovering these hidden opportunities for optimization.
It's not just about finding and fixing bugs, it's also about making the software as efficient and effective as possible.
So far, we've explored how black box testing makes sure the software behaves as expected from the user's perspective.
And how white box testing delves into the code itself to ensure its efficiency, security, and overall quality.
It's clear they both play crucial roles in the world of software development.
Like two sides of the same coin, both essential for creating high-quality software.
But are they always used in isolation? Or is there like a synergy between them?
That's a great question. And it leads us to the heart of modern software testing practices. It really is about how they work best together. They aren't rivals, they're more like partners.
Partners in fighting crime. The dynamic duo of bug squashing.
You got it. And in practice, you usually start with white box testing because it involves getting down into the code.
So it's like preventing those bugs before they even become a problem.
Exactly. Catch them early, right in the nest. And then once the software is a little bit more put together.
We bring in the black box testing to look at it as a whole.
Yeah, from the user's perspective, like, does everything actually work the way it should?
Okay, so it's like a 1-2 punch.
White box for the code itself, and then black box for the user experience.
Got it. Do they ever, like, happen at the same time?
Sometimes, especially these days with agile development where things are moving much faster.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's not always a strict sequence.
Right, sometimes they overlap, but the general idea is the same white box early on, then black box to tie it all together.
And I'm guessing that's where those automated tools we talked about come in.
Yeah, exactly. Think of them like little robot assistants for the testing teams.
Superpowered assistants, helping them find and squash bugs faster.
Yes, they can run tons of tests automatically.
So instead of, like, manually trying every single username and password combination.
The tool can do it in a fraction of the time.
Wow, that's incredible. It frees up the human testers to focus on more complex stuff.
Exactly. And some tools can even analyze the code and point out potential problem areas.
So the developers know where to look first.
Right. It's all about making the process more efficient and comprehensive.
So we've got this powerful combination of white box and black box testing, plus all these amazing tools,
But at the end of the day, isn't it all about the user?
making sure they have a good experience.
Absolutely. All of this, the testing, the tools, it's all to ensure that the software we use every day actually works,
And that it meets our needs.
that it's reliable, efficient, and enjoyable to use.
It makes you appreciate those moments when an app just works, you know?
Right. We rarely stop to think about all the work that went into making that happen.
Like the army of testers who battled those bugs to give us that seamless experience.
It's true. We tend to only notice the final product, the sleek design, the smooth functionality.
But underneath that shiny surface
Lies a complex world of code and algorithms.
and countless hours of testing.
Exactly.
So the next time you're scrolling through your favorite app, take a moment to acknowledge those unsung heroes.
The testers who worked tirelessly to ensure your digital journey is bug-free and enjoyable.
And who knows, maybe our deep dive today will inspire some of you to try your hand at being a tester.
Yeah. Imagine you could be the one to find those hidden glitches that no one else has noticed.
Now that's a challenge I can get behind.
But even with all these sophisticated techniques and tools we've talked about,
Isn't software development like a constantly evolving field?
absolutely. New technologies emerge all the time, user expectations change, and the bad guys, the ones trying to exploit those security holes,
They never stop either, right?
no, never. So testers need to constantly adapt and learn new things to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like an ongoing arms race between developers and bugs, isn't it?
You could say that. And this constant evolution makes software testing a truly dynamic and exciting field.
There's always something new to learn, a new challenge to tackle.
Exactly. And even though we've delved pretty deep into black box and white box testing today,
There's always more to explore, right? New techniques, new tools, new ways of thinking about software quality.
absolutely, it's a constantly evolving field, and it plays a crucial role in shaping the digital world we live in.
Well said. And speaking of shaping the digital world, I think it's worth taking a moment to consider the bigger picture here.
Yeah, we've been focusing on the technical stuff, but it's important to remember the impact of all this work.
Like, software isn't just about entertainment and convenience anymore.
It powers our transportation systems, our healthcare, our financial institutions,
Our entire lives are increasingly reliant on software working correctly.
and that puts a huge responsibility on the shoulders of software testers,
They're the unsung guardians of our digital world.
working tirelessly to ensure that the software we depend on is safe, secure, and reliable.
So let's raise a metaphorical glass to the software testers out there.
To the bug squashers, the code whisperers, the champions of quality.
Your work may often go unnoticed, but it's deeply appreciated.
Cheers to that.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of software testing.
But before we do, I have one last thought for our listeners out there. Think about it. After learning all about black box and white box testing, how do you feel about those bugs you run into? Still frustrating.
I mean, yeah, those glitches can be annoying, but now I think I get it a little more.
Maybe a little more understanding of why they happen.
Exactly. It's complex work, even with the best intentions in all those tests.
Sometimes those sneaky bugs just slip through the cracks.
It happens. Software development is a tough business.
It really is, but that's why it's so important for users to report bugs when they find them.
Oh, right, like giving the developers feedback.
Exactly. Tell them what happened, be specific. It all helps them improve the software.
So the next time I encounter a bug, instead of just getting frustrated,
Take a deep breath. Think back to what we've learned.
and maybe have a little fun trying to figure out what went wrong.
Channel your inner software tester.
You never know. Maybe you'll uncover a passion for bug hunting.
It can be kind of addictive, actually.
So to wrap things up, I think it's safe to say that the world of software testing is way more intricate than most people realize.
It's a whole hidden world of complexity and innovation.
But ultimately, it's all about making our digital lives better, right?
Absolutely. Ensuring the apps and software we use every day are reliable, efficient, and enjoyable to use.
And thanks to the tireless work of all those dedicated software testers out there,
We get to enjoy seamless digital experiences.
without even realizing the effort that goes into making it all happen.
So the next time you encounter a bug, Maybe instead of getting annoyed, take a moment to appreciate the testing process that went into trying to prevent it.
And maybe even give a little nod to those unsung heroes of the digital world.
The software testers who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make our lives a little bit easier and a lot more fun.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into black box and white box software testing.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you learned something new and gained a newfound appreciation for the fascinating world of software development.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those curiosity gears turning.
That's what we'll be doing. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a new and exciting topic. Until then, keep on learning.